get through it as best we can. So it's 8:30, so I guess we'll bring the meeting to order.
We turn over to Rich.
I just want to say, Dennis, it's exactly like the curriculum meeting, except Rich does all the talking.
Okay, well, Rich, you got the floor.
Thank you, sir. Good morning. All right, so as we know, we went through a cold snap last week. We held up good for the most part. We did lock the buildings into occupied the week before to get as much heat into the buildings as possible. We had a few items that maintenance and myself stayed on top of the 3 days we were out, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We've made a list of some of the items. We found a couple steam traps that are hissing steam, but those cannot get done until we're done with the heating season.
Could you just clarify for me what a steam trap is?
It's a trap that's within the line that will bleed out water and keep it from, it's like a check valve almost. So those periodically go bad because of gaskets and age. They're underneath the floors, they're in the walls. So when it starts to piss out steam, you get a lot of condensate in the area that it's in, so we can't really do anything until the boilers are on. We don't want to be dealing with 185 degree
Right.
steam, so.
Okay, thanks.
So we're making notes as to what we found, and we'll tackle those once the heating season is done, probably May, June, July. We'll use it for that.
Is that here at campus or other schools too?
Campus and Lamouth were the ones that took the most brunt of the weather as far as having issues with things not holding heat as well as we had hoped. But a lot of it has to just do with age, and a lot of it also has to do with the fact that it was just cold. It was extremely cold. I've never seen, typically your discharge air, let's say if your discharge air is 90, you're going to pull back. Return air will be 80 degrees, maybe 85 degrees. Media center, we were discharging 93 degree air and we were pulling back 59 just because of the void above the drop ceiling is so massive and so much cold air and limited insulation that it was just, those were one of our concern points that we kept our eyes on because we didn't want anything inside the building to start bursting.
Right.
So other things, I mean, we have some rooftop units out throughout the district and in all the buildings. We really don't know if there's any damage to those until everything completely thaws out till March, April, May. But and I'm sure there'll be some roof cracking or something that goes on as well, which is typical. But for the most part, we held up very well. I was very happy to get through it with no horror stories compared to what I heard Friday when I was at a business managers meetings at some of the other schools.
I saw something that cracked. Like they had burst pipes.
Burst pipes and air handlers. They had sprinkler heads freeze up and explode. They had a main water line go bad. So yeah, we fared well.
So thank you again to you and your team for the awesome job.
Glad to do it. So I touched on the steam traps, and then, like I said, we monitored it throughout the week remotely from our programming. We also were on site all 3 days as well, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I just want to bring up to the group that, with the age of the buildings, we're running into issues now where we're getting blower motors. This is one, for example, that they don't make the 3rd horsepower variable speed motors with the transformers that we need to run the systems. So we're now starting to really run into a situation where the obsolete materials are going to become a bigger and bigger headache as we move forward throughout the years as far as keeping equipment running. The guys are working diligently to figure out how to bypass wirings through the transformers to do more of a direct wire, kind of like this one here. It's either on or it's off. Some of them, they should have variable speeds, a high or a low, so you're not always sounding like you have a jet engine taking off. But I just want to make everybody aware that we're getting to the point now where we're finding it more and more difficult to get replacement parts for some of these things. We did have a motor go down in Buckeye. The guys fixed that, and then we had a couple issues at Lamouth with transformers and motors, and the same thing here at the high school. We had a couple motors go down. This was one of them. So they're doing what they can. Very happy with the work that they're doing as far as keeping things running, but I just want everybody to know that we're gonna start reaching that critical point where, you know, we may have to start looking at other options to distribute heat, or look into maybe talking to some engineering firm as to what we could do as far as pull all the guts out, and if there's anything that we could retrofit accordingly to distribute the heat.
Well, let me ask you a question on that. Is, they just, these 3rd horsepower variable speed motors, you say they just aren't available anymore?
The transformers aren't available, or they're not compatible to the shaft size that we have.
So if you got new units, how are they different?
Newer units, because the parts are more readily available than what we have currently.
Okay.
Just because of the age and how the industry, it's just like everything else, it
Everything
just changes.
advances,
Yeah.
yeah. So if you were to, like you say, let's say we were to replace some, cannibalize what we have in order to, you know, service the older ones until they can get replaced, is that kind of a plan moving forward?
We don't have much to cannibalize with, but like I said, they're working on how we can bypass transformers and just have on-off and have them blowing is what we're doing. In the meantime, we're also looking at what other options we have that, you know, if we could find an option to where we can get 6 or 7 different motors or transformers to put in these things and have them on the shelf, that would be great, but it's something we're looking into as well.
Okay, good.
If we were to replace different rooms, replace the vents, it's more than just a one-to-one replacement, because there's a different footprint, and the floor's hot, and some of the other buildings have that as well.
It's not an easy
Yeah,
swap.
It's
yeah.
not that's kind of what I was afraid of.
This one is an easier example of how we could change it out to a split system, just because we have the air conditioning compressor sitting outside. I don't think we want 150 compressors sitting outside of our high school running. It wouldn't look very pretty, but
Right.
Wouldn't be very efficient either.
no, it would not, no. So it's just, you know, it's just part of the nature of the beast, but I think we have enough intelligence, enough resources that we can make sure that we can keep going for at least the 10 more years I have till I retire.
It's always an outlook and timeline.
Who's counting?
So Dennis, you're new to the group, and welcome. We've had an issue with Parkside with the heat exchanger being down for an extensive length of time. We changed the heat exchanger and one of the boilers at Riverview 2.5 years ago. That heat exchanger cost us $21,000. The latest number I had before Friday was $72,000, and nobody can give us an exact reason why. Friday morning I received, as you have, the proposal from Gardner. The number came down from $72,000 to $70,914. So what we'll do is, if we approve this to move forward, we'll get the heat exchanger ordered, get it installed, and Parkside will then be back up running with 2 boilers instead of 1.
How did they fare with this weather?
We held up, locking the building into occupied mode Wednesday of the week prior, and getting the heat in the building and monitoring it the way we did. We held up.
So that's really our only alternative. There really isn't anything else but to go with this heat exchanger.
This is the first step. Moving forward, we may want to look at potentially changing out boilers down the road when it's financially feasible. Riverview would maybe be a different animal, I think, with the building of the addition. We could ask for a alternate cost to remove the RBI boilers. The reason I'm saying that is I've been here 4 years, and it's been nothing but problems with those boilers. I do know prior to my starting, there was some records of some issues. RBI is not very easy to work with as far as a company, because they are from Canada, nothing against Canada. And then the representatives that were involved with the building of these boilers into the schools, they're not very responsive to our needs and demands as far as these boilers go. And I've talked to some people out in the industry as well, from facility standpoints, and they will tell you the same thing, that the RBI boilers are a big pain in the butt. And I would prefer to see something to where we have a distributor and a manufacturer that's more local, more reliable, and parts are more readily available than, you know, the current RV employers. Nothing wrong with what we did in the building project of the schools, it's just what was called out in the package, and unfortunately, they're just, in my opinion, they're not what we want.
We learned from our mistakes.
That's correct.
Okay.
Rich, I got two questions. It says on the quote, number one, heat exchanger will be sent to manufacturer for warranty evaluation. Is that just a, yep, it's broken?
That's gonna come back as a, yep, it's broken.
Okay.
They did that the last time to us, and we still cannot get the information, even though I'm constantly asking on a weekly basis.
And Gardner is the one who does the controls, right?
Gardner has the
Currently?
controls at Riverview and Parkside.
And we were gonna talk about CCG at some point.
Correct.
Okay.
I think Brian Wagner will come in, if everybody's still receptive to it, to the February Buildings and Grounds meeting. I'd like him to give us a presentation, no more than 15, 20 minutes at the most, of looking into, again, it's an option with the addition to Riverview as an alternate to see if we can remove Gardner from Riverview while the construction is going on and install CCG, and then look down the line to Parkside unless Brian Wagner and CCG come to us with a option that we just can't pass up at that time. But I think we'll be biting off enough this coming summer and fall that I think Parkside can go down the road
Okay.
a little bit later. But I would love again to see CCG in all of our schools so we have uniformity, plus the fact that their response and their service that they give us is tenfold better than Gardner. And again, I've stated before, if you go out in the industry and you talk to facility managers and business managers, they'll tell you that there's a lot of lawsuits against Gardner because of their proprietary systems and their unwillingness to be very responsive to what you need in critical times. So if we get the approval to move forward with this, if we can put it on the board minutes for Thursday, I will let Gardner know that we are going to proceed once we get the official approval from the board meeting.
Is that something you're gonna recommend?
I think we need it. I mean, do you see any issues with it?
What kind of stuff?
Well, you know, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too.
Yeah, so, yeah.
We get zeros again, it's, you know, I'm glad we made it through this one, but let's get them back up and running.
It's nice to have the backup
Yeah,
redundancy than just looking at one going, please don't.
Space heaters aren't gonna be, that's a lot of space heaters.
We did that a little bit, we didn't turn out too well.
Yeah.
I attended the Ohio School Council's Business Managers meeting Friday at the ESC Building Independence. The Alera Group, which is an insurance company they're an insurance company and they also are a preferred vendor of the ESC. They did a real quick presentation for us, and I'm just going to highlight that they went over casualty and liability, gave us some talking points, cybersecurity, student and staff safety. A lot of this has to do with what they were honing in on was what your insurance companies are going to be looking for moving forward and what you need to be prepared for and be aware of as we move forward throughout the days, weeks, months, and years. Talked about playground and bleacher safety. We talked about outside group rental facilities and what you should have and the language that you should have. Off-site travel, kind of do's and don'ts. A few items with transportation. Talked about upcoming resources that we'll have to us, and then renewals. Some of these things I can get with Gary and Mike on, and I'm sure they're aware of. Lara did say that there are whispers out there that the insurance renewals moving forward, they're looking anywhere from 15 to 25% increases. Those are just the whispers. Alara's not getting very specific as to what it's going to be, but that's what they're seeing out there that could potentially be coming our way.
Is this for physical things or liability type things or everything?
It's everything.
Liability, cyber, I'm sure, Power School just had that huge hack, so that's gonna cause everyone's go on.
And then we also touched on some various legislative updates. Everybody knows about the House Bill 82, which was the elimination of the windfall We talked about Senate Bill 234, which was making sure that schools have national suicide and crisis lifeline telephone numbers available on multiple student ID cards, planners, schools electric portal. House Bill 432 and Senate Bill 29, there was a correction with the technology bill. There's also, the bathroom bill. They touched on the Senate Bill 104, the bathroom bill. Schools need to make sure, and it's not just schools, but we were specifically talking about schools. When we use our locker rooms for events, let's say we have a boys tournament, we have to use the women's restroom. We have to hang a sign that says boys over the girls and vice versa when the girls are using the boys. They said this is not a suggestion, that this is a law, so we have to be compliant with it. So that is something that we'll have to look forward to moving forward.
Is this just because the number of students one locker room won't handle?
So when you host, it's more for when you host more basketball type tournaments. So when you host a basketball tournament, typically you've got 4 teams, and you may have 2. You may have a home locker room and a visiting locker room, but then you would have a women's home and a women's visiting. You have to kind of designate, if it's a men's tournament, you have to designate all 4 of them as men's. For us, I don't know who. I'm not sure which locker room the visiting team uses when they play football.
They use the high school gym.
Yeah, sometimes they're gonna in a stadium field house, it's set up so that the locker rooms are, in the fall, they might be just set up to be, football or for boys, but in the spring, it might be boys track in one, girls track in the other. And so you have to kind of identify them and make sure you're identifying in which season what they're used for.
It's just the number of people that are there for that event
And the logistics,
requires more
yes.
space.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's more of what teams are coming and the logistics and that sort of
That's
thing.
all doable.
It's all just a laminated sign and
Right, okay.
duct tape.
And I think it's related to locker room use too, like it
Yeah.
won't take bathrooms away from,
No.
you know what I mean, from the opposite sex, so that, I just wanted to make sure that was clear, you know what I mean? So there's still gonna be bathroom facilities available,
Right.
it's just the locker room stuff.
Rich, going back to bleachers, you had mentioned that, and I know that Mr. Schussler was looking at, getting quotes for the high school gym. I know it's not on here this time, but just to keep this committee aware that we're looking to, replace the current bleachers that are in the gym that are all beat up with some movable ones. Is that what it is, or?
Yes.
Okay.
We're gonna take the ones that slide in and out that are plastic, and we're going to put in Nick Schussler would like to put in the aluminum bleachers that you kind of see outside around the baseball diamonds. We actually have a couple indoors as well in the field house for additional seating. They're movable, which will help us if we have larger events in the field house. And it's also gonna save us on money not having to replace the broken plastic seating, which just the section in the current form it's in the high school to replace those is $46,000.
And the bleacher sections, I think we're around 18.
Correct.
To put
Yes.
the movable ones.
And they'll still be inspected, we still have to inspect them, which we do every year. In the meeting I was at, the business managers, they did bring up a good point. A lot of us do it over the summer, but because of liability issues and when spring hits, people start using the bleachers and people start using the playground. So they were suggesting that we may start looking at a March, April, May inspection, just because as soon as you come out of winter, you don't know what's going on. That would be the better time. So I'm also looking into changing out when we do that, because typically we do our inspections in July, just because we're in summer break. But it's something to really consider to help us out as far as making sure we have everything we need in case something does happen, and we need to have that proof on file that we did do a formal inspection. Something I know we have to have floor plans, which we do. It is a law in the state of Ohio, and you have to have them accessible, and they have to be accurate. So I'm looking at talking with the ESC. They have a couple companies will either do just a simple floor plan that is updated and highlights a lot of what you're looking for, and they also have an option, which I thought was pretty cool. I don't know what the cost is, but they do a 3D rendering for you that in the event of an emergency, you can pop it up on your phone and you can actually send that information to the authorities coming or on site, so they can actually have that at their ready. So it would almost look like on their computer or their phone that they were walking through the school. In the case, God forbid, that we have an emergency where we would need that type of information. So that'll be forthcoming, just to see what the cost is. Thursday and Friday, the company was out to do the core drilling for the CTE building. It went well. They have completed that. I know that they were heading to Riverview, and they were working with Roger
Yes.
to set that up.
They staked it on Monday, was it? I know there was this,
I believe they did some
I think they
staking,
did stake it Monday.
and they were gonna work with Cleveland Construction and Roger to set up the drilling dates.
This is for Riverview, correct?
For Riverview, yes. And we had a quote to move the fence at Riverview that was just around 20,000.
What type of fence was that?
Same type. Same
Split rail?
replacement, split rail, yeah.
Okay. All right, how did the drilling go over here?
Good. Good. They said we had some very compact, tight soil, which was good. The only issue that we're really gonna have is going to be the moving of that 6-inch main gas line.
So is that really a confirmed thing or not yet?
Yes, it is confirmed.
Okay, is that a live line?
Yes, it is.
So what I understand is that the one coming in, you know, that feeds it, but I forget if Roger told me this or Ryan told me this, that it was a 4-inch line coming into where that addition between the two buildings is. And then it came out of there at a 3-inch. So he couldn't understand why it went from a 3 to a 6.
My understanding in talking with the surveyor that came out, who tapped into the lines using the detector, the 6-inch runs from the corner of the John R. boiler room kitchen area, cuts across the parking lot, and runs right down the center of the grass and goes to our high school boiler room, which then, according to his survey, it branches into the high school kitchen, and then it branches into the welding lab, and then there's another small meter there as well. That's the information I was given.
So it's feeding both boiler rooms.
That is my understanding,
Okay.
yes.
All right, yeah, we'll have to figure out exactly.
Don't wanna
what
cut
it
that
is.
one.
No. I
They
did
didn't
speak,
drill it, so that's good.
I did talk to Cleveland Construction briefly on Thursday, and he said that the best course of action, in his opinion, but it would be something that would be discussed at the table, is they would pretty much run the new line, and then we would have to cut everything off, cut, splice, put together, hope it goes well. I'm not a fan of doing it during the winter, but I know we have deadlines to meet. So I'll leave that to Ryan and Cleveland Construction to come up with that.
Rich and I were arm wrestling about what is gonna happen.
I could understand no gas in the kitchens, but we can't have our boilers down for an extended period of time. And I don't want to say, well, we can do it in 5 hours, and then I hear somebody go, oops.
I imagine it's gonna take just, some time anyways from the design end.
Yeah,
And so
definitely.
it's probably gonna be, I'm gonna assume it's gonna be after the heating season over before they.
They're close to the end of it, yeah.
Right, and I'm sure there'll be some tear up of our parking lot, would be my guess, is they're probably gonna loop it around that area.
Did they find the line from the field house and locate
They could
that?
not,
Oh,
they could not.
Oh, okay.
Come to find out that the diameter of the pipe you're looking for dictates how far down into the earth they can go. So when you're looking for an 1.25 inch line, they can only go down 18 inches. Well, it's deeper than 18
Yeah.
inches. So,
This is a sanitary line.
yes, yeah.
So do you had them do not just where the CTE building is going, but you expanded their search?
We asked them to do all of the asphalt that goes from the media center, past the John R. boiler room, past the John R. gym, and up to the corner of the bus garage.
That'll give us good data going forward.
We have good data as to what all is buried in there, yes.
Any other surprises?
No, just a whole lot of things running around like spaghetti.
All
It's
right.
just a surprise that we didn't want. That's the only surprise we got.
Correct. So that concludes that portion. We have the Riverview update and the CTE building update. I don't have much other than the core drilling's done.
Yeah, we did, we issued a PO for the Phase 1 environmental study on the property being purchased. HCW's doing that. They did the Madison Avenue parcel when we built the school back in 2017, so this is just doing that new parcel that we're purchasing just to make sure it's good.
No surprises when we did the other one.
Yeah, it was all good. So I'm not expecting anything, but
Did they have to wait for the snow to disappear?
They do for wetlands.
for the wetlands, yeah,
Yeah.
they didn't necessarily say, they said they'd have it done within 20 business days, and that was probably 8 or 10 business days ago, so, I mean, I would imagine next 3 weeks we'll hear something.
I would be surprised if there's anything there, especially anything of any significance.
Right.
So we shall see.
We will have on the board agenda the proposal from Thomas Fence to replace the fence. It's somewhere around 22,000, I believe it was.
Yes.
It'll be the same style, and materials.
I think we may want to hold off on that until we talk to Scott about that.
Okay.
All right, are we done?
Anything else? Anybody have anything else?
I think so.
All right, then we're early.
Yeah, that one's not right though.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, okay, I was gonna say, we're not that early, but we are early.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.